We talked about earlier how Unified Customer View is a combination of these components, but really when we talk about matching, when we talk about the Fuse ID, it's the client's profile store that we're talking about, and that's definitely going to be a theme that we're going to continue to talk to clients once they become Unified Customer View clients. Also, one thing to note is that we used to use this image a lot, just like we were talking about earlier, in saying like, hey, this is the way you're going to grow your profile store. You're going to get data coming in, and you're going to match it here, and then you're going to export it. And we said, this is what you really need to enhance. That's what we kept saying that over and over. But this is a lot for clients to take in. They're like, enhance what? I don't get it. I just don't understand. So we thought, especially when Kelly was challenged to go to Kraft, she said, Kraft isn't going to get this, right? We need to get to the same level as our client, to the same level as marketers. And so what do marketers really get? What is almost a universal language for marketers? And that's, Kim?
The customer acquisition process. So the one thing that's consistent across anybody who's doing any kind of selling to anything, anybody, even Signal, is the customer acquisition funnel. So essentially, you go out to market with your widget, and there's some kind of audience that you think is most likely to purchase the widget. Hopefully you engage those people, and they try your widget. And eventually you learn enough about those people that you keep going after them to buy these widgets that essentially they become brand loyalists. That's really every marketer's goal, anyone who's selling any product. So the way to think about building this profile store, the way that we position ourselves to help clients think about it, is building the data in the same exact way. For example, customer tracking behavior. It's critical to do a lot of different things. You can do a lot of things with it, but it's not very, very detailed and specific to a consumer. It's still important, so it's probably at the top end of the funnel. Customer login events, you're really starting to learn more and more about those customers and starting to get more information until you have a full picture of what they're doing. When they make a purchase, you actually really understand how they're engaging with your product. So this isn't the only pieces to how we build profiles, but it's just to give a client a way to map it back to their business and how they think about it. And when they're thinking about where they can collect the data, they should think about it as all of their customer engagement points and everywhere that they interact with any type of customer. There hopefully is some way to gather that data and add it to their profiles.
So you're sitting in a meeting with a client, and you're like, hey client, you know how you can get your cross-channel data to be better matched? And they're like, no, I don't. And they're like, okay, well think about how your normal purchase funnel process for your customers. You run a television commercial, you expose a lot of people, but only a few of those people are actually going to go on the website and research the product you're advertising on them. So you get a section of that big audience, you move them down the funnel, and only a section of those people are actually going to purchase. But so the data, like Kelly was saying, works the exact same way. You get a lot of reach, and you get a lot of, you see a lot of people once, but then as they move down that same purchase funnel, you actually build a more enhanced profile. So they very much mirror each other in that respect. And Kelly, you probably can attest that it was really successful when you talked to Kraft about it, right?
Yeah, I mean, engaging with clients, like a lot of times we want to go for the hard-hitting answers and the hard-hitting numbers. And on a technical perspective, I think what's really interesting about our technology is when you look at media technologies in the industry, they're all about tying back to ROI. Our technology doesn't necessarily do that. We help clients build towards that, and we help clients achieve it, but it doesn't necessarily point back to a specific number. And so really what's critical is making sure the client just understands the process to which we help them do that and getting their head around a story that makes sense with their business. This story is something that we could apply to any business. You could customize it to anyone. For Kraft, their display advertising is really on the left end, and that's where the bulk of their money is. So the bulk of their money in advertising and engagements is actually in display advertising, which has a really small data strength because of the fact that it's just interactions with consumers and ads. Maybe they're seeing them, maybe they're not. It's not that much information. Where they tend to get their deep data set is when customers are actively using their recipe app or their recipe page and they can log in. But for Kraft, that's a very small universe compared to the overall universe. I mean, who doesn't like cheese, right? their overall universe is ideally everybody. Maybe they have 150,000 people logging onto their website on a monthly basis, so that's a much smaller universe. But it's relative to any brand, and you can make it, like I said, you can customize the story, and I think that's really what's critical is making sure we always tie our technology back to how our customers are doing their business and their business practice. So on that front, I'm kind of talking to you guys a little bit, and Tomas touched on it. Channels and the channels that the data is coming from have a direct impact on really the strength of the profile and the depth of the profile that a client is able to receive. And really, when you're looking at channels, we have a lot of different channels, and I'll go over those in a second. But there's two channel types. One is what I refer to as first party, or we refer to as first party authenticated ID based, and the other one is third party cookie based, meaning these channels enable us to capture data by means of using cookies or by means of authentication events. Sorry, phone people. Josh just brought in brownies. Anyone want brownie?
Send it down here for God's sake.
Brownie? Okay. The strength of that engagement, of that data is going to differ by channel that a client is leveraging, and so best practices, no matter what, are always encourage clients to add as many channels as possible because that just builds up their data set. But also, we try to help clients add as many first-party authentication channels as possible.
And when we talk about first-party authentication, we talk about, hey, I'm on Northspeaker's website, I'm logging in with my email, right? Boom, email, that means it's authenticated. When we talk about third-party cookie ID based, you're talking about ad impressions, right? Yes, you are putting an ID on that consumer who saw that ad. However, that ID is temporary, right? It has a short lifespan. Even though you have a lot of scale with that type of ID, it's not pervasive, you can't use it after a while. I'm really glad everyone caught what I was saying.
Sorry. I saw the brownies and thought of you guys. Recap for me.
Yeah, can you go back?
Oh, here, this
Yeah, actually go for it. Oh, okay. Third-party data, cookie IDs suck, and first-party are better. That's basically the recap.
He's joking.
So there's benefits, so there's strengths and weaknesses of both. So right here you achieve a lot of scale, right? So you have that ad impression pixel, it goes across a lot of ads. Man, you can really register a bunch of profile IDs. But those IDs only last for 30 days. Not that great. And those IDs only tie back to, let's say, a specific vendor or something like that. Now, if you have first-party IDs, authenticated IDs, as we're calling them, like an email, that's much stronger. One, it's because the customer actually said, hey, this is me, this is actually my email. It's coming straight from the customer. Second of all, it doesn't have an expiration date, right? You can use it for months, years, anything like that. But there's a lot less of them. There's a lot less authenticated. So there's strengths and weaknesses, but really signal strength is on this side of the board, the first party authenticated.
And it's less of a competency around the ecosystem. A lot of people have really mastered third party. I mean, just the fact that it's coming from third parties, they've had to figure out standards and everything. First party, as valuable as it is still one of those things that our advertisers just haven't really owned and haven't really leveraged to the nth degree.
And when Tomas, I just want to make sure everybody break this point, is saying that Signal's competency is a little bit more on the first party. You're not speaking about our data collection capability.
That's exactly right. Our differentiator is on the first party ID base. It's not to say that we're limited on the other side.
Good, right?
I don't disagree with you, but I think that our real value is our ability, because of the infrastructure that we've built, to associate the first party side going the other way. Right? So if you think about like this unified customer view, it's not just where I see a customer across my owned and operated assets and where I'm able to collect first party identifiers. Because even if I do that, I still have to relate that information to the outside world, right?
That's
because,
the point.
Right, we're going to go buy media, and we're going to go buy media on a publisher site or someplace else. I have to be able to take that first-party identifier and also know that it correlates to all of these third-party identifiers.
But having the deep confidence in the first party lends us
To do this.
to be able to do that better than trying to come the other way.
But I would argue that too, though, that like, most of the customers that we talk to that are on this journey can do that, right? Like, if they wanted to create a unified view of their customer
Yeah.
across their owned and operated assets,
They do.
they can do that, right?
That's a really
They
good
can
point.
collect all of the
Yeah.
data, they can associate the first-party IDs, and they can create their own silo.
I probably simplified it too much. I think what Brad's point is where our specialty lies in the connecting of first-party IDs. The real strength of the use of the ID is how they both work together.
Right.
That's where like the real strength comes from. And the
I think
benefits.
that's where I would say, like,
Yeah.
where we bring, like, the power of first-party IDs and third-party IDs together is like that
Right.
linkage.
Fair point. Take it.
David?